Hello, hello, hello. I'm under here again. Here I am. Hi. Welcome to Philo. Today we have guest artist Kay Kirscht, who was one of the original Philo artists when we used to draw on MTN. And of course, co-host Robin.
Hi.
Co-host Robin has fantastic news about her comic panel today. And then we have, of course, where we left off. And then we have Kay's work. So just kind of picking up where we left off, we are at chapter 2. Everything is going according to Mao's plan. That is where we left off. We have no idea what Mao's plan is. This is what Dale came up with for Meow's plan. Oh, we got Bobby Flower. Hi. Yeah, hi, Steve Notley. It's good to see you.
Oh my God, I know Bob.
Yeah.
I shared a floor with Bob one year at Ape.
Ah, good time.
I don't know if Bob remembers me. We were both on Keith Knight's floor.
Oh.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Hi, Bob.
Let's see. Okay. All right. So.
Steven. Hi, Steven.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, Bob the Angry Flower is his alter ego, I think it's
Yes.
safe to say. And Ape, those were some days. I know, Alternative Press Expo.
There was a guy there that we hung out with that was so crazy, but we had so much fun. He was like Professor 5000, I think that was what he was calling himself. I can't remember anything else about this guy except that, yeah, it was either Professor 3000 or Professor 5000, but he was quite the character.
No, I remember one year with Steve. I want to say Comic-Con 2002, 2003, somewhere around there. He was tabling next to Donna Barr, and she's like, "We're
Donna!
And she was like, "We're cockroaches. We always survive. It doesn't matter what's going on in the comic industry. We're always here in our booths."
Yeah, she's great. She's a great woman, Donna. I really admire her.
Okay, so chapter 2. Where do we go? Where do we go? Do you want to?
I think we need a better recap than just Chairman Mao was having plans.
Okay.
Maybe we could go back like 2 or 3 more panels than that.
Yeah, we can do that. So I do have the pages up on the website, and
nice.
So right here you can see here's up to episode 21, which is last week, and then page 14, which is the last completed page. That's why I showed you where we left off. But yeah, where we left off is the tracker had a mini tracker that was on the guys. The second tracker is the Kaiju Councils, and then they smashed the tracker. The signal's lost. Armand, the bartender, rushes to save them. If they stay in the stomach realm, they will be digested. Armand guides the group to the exit portal, which happens to be a toilet. And then down they go. The spies report back to Meow, and then everything's going according to his plan, chapter 2.
All right. Oh man, we really wrote ourselves into a corner.
Yeah, so where
we gotta come up with something.
Where do we start? Where do we start? Do we start with the Kaiju Council?
No, I think we need to focus on Mao for a few minutes.
Okay, so we're gonna focus on Mao for a few minutes.
Just because his plan, we need to know what his plan is.
Okay, so Mao goes over his plan. How's that?
Now, if we recall, we first encountered Mao on planet Woolendorf.
Well,
so I'm wondering...
Yeah, the land of Philo, I believe I was calling it, but yeah.
Yeah, land of Philo.
Woolendorf works.
But I was wondering, maybe he's trying really hard to get back to there. Maybe he's like in love with the head of the planet, like the member of the giant phyla.
Well, he tried to like overtake her lands.
I know, but maybe he still doesn't mean he doesn't love her.
He loves Philo. Okay, so
he can be a man and still want to rule her world and still want her to love him. These are all feasible.
So Mal goes over his plan, and so I am going to start drawing the plan in panel 1, and then Kay, you're going to finish up the plan in panel 2.
Okay.
So I'm going to get as far as underpants. won't do that to you. I will try and come up with some more plan. I promise. But yeah, okay. So his plan is to try and gain Philo's love. He tried to do that by conquering her lands, I guess.
Yeah, and that didn't work. And maybe she banished him because she was fed up with him, and now he's kind of like Samurai Jack trying to get back to the planet that he came from.
Okay.
I don't get it because she doesn't wear underpants anyway.
Well,
yeah, she was naked.
No.
So I'm gonna have him like thinking about his plan, and how everything's gonna lead to it, and then
because our story has been very almost devoid of romance. I have to add. I think the last time we spoke of romance is when it was Bluto and Philo were in love.
Well,
but he was abusive. But this is abusive too. This is an abusive relationship too. What's with all these toxic relationships?
I don't know.
Mal's not a positive influence at all.
Yeah, maybe we're channeling something, like we're overcompensating for something. So I got to figure this out. So okay, panel 2, and I'm gonna pull you up, Kay, because we're gonna have panel 2 up here. Panel 2. If Mal's going over his plan, maybe you could say the next step of his plan. And so I'm going to have him like, he's going to have the group here. Let me pull up into the big window. So he's going to have like the group up here, the dog and stuff like that. And then I'm going to have them like plus Otis is the where vending machine. Because he's a portal, right? Equals, him and Philo in love. And so I'm going to have them doing that. So, okay. So where are they right now in their plan? He's trying to get the group.
Okay.
So I would say, we lost. Oh, no, there she is. We lost you for a second, Robin.
Oh.
Yeah, we lost
the
you
internet
for a second,
just
Robin.
Weird. The internet cut out. I don't know why, but now it's back. So I was gonna say, the spies are trying to make them come back to the headquarters so that Mao can use the teleportation device that is Otis to his advantage. But obviously that's not happening.
And then we lost her again. Oh no, poor girl.
As far as I know, this is panel 2 that I'm working on, even though I've got it in panel 1 right now. But it's the next phase plan is...
The phase of his plan is he has figured out where they are. Now he's going to try and convince them to be on his side. And so, so he has figured out where they are, and he's going to try and convince them to be on his side. So that's your panel. We keep losing Robin.
No, okay, so hi. Yeah. I took my Wi-Fi off and I put on my regular data, so you shouldn't lose me now.
Okay. Yeah, we just kept losing you for a second, but that's okay. Let's see.
It's the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi was spotty.
The Wi-Fi. Okay, so he has figured out what they are now, where they are now, now to pull them over to his side. Excellent. What's Kay, could you remove the 2 and the RR and label the layer for me?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid I'm having difficulty with the RR keeps coming back, so it may have become part of the template. I keep trying.
So I did send you a new clean template. Did you get it?
Yep, I did.
Okay, is this the old one or the new one?
This is the new one.
I don't know where the RR is coming from then, because that wasn't part of the template.
As for a starter for me, and now I'm trying to get back to that to black it out. Maybe I'll do it in post-production. And as far as labeling the layer, I don't really know how to do that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I do have a layer over it, but I don't know what to name it or how to name it.
I'll be right there.
Okay. Yeah, because you can give me the PSD files. I can open those in Clip Studio Paint.
That's
so I can get all the layers and stuff if you can figure out how to label them.
Okay.
Hey, so
talk
Amber,
about your panel.
I will in a minute, but I wanted to talk about this for a second before I forget. Amber and I were talking about like things that are quintessentially associated with countries, and how Harry Potter is associated with the UK, and then you guys, what did you associate with yourself? The US was like what?
Oh yeah, we were talking about how like the US has stuff like Sopranos and Breaking Bad,
which are indicatively American.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to know what would be Canadian. And we actually, I think it's either Trailer Park Boys or Kids in the Hall. But one of the things we started talking about was SCTV. And I literally just like 20 minutes ago found out how SCTV happened.
Oh!
And actually, there's a comic about it too, which is crazy.
As there should be.
So, this guy, Del Close, who's kind of considered like the creator of improv, was one of the first guys. He was the guy that started Second City with Gilda Radner and Jim Belushi. And there were Canadians in that crew too. There was John Candy and Joe Flaherty. But this Del Close guy was kind of a bit of a madman, and he had these like purist ideas about improv and what they could do and how far they could go with it. And he had a partner, but it was like a business partner, and the business partner just didn't want anything to do with it. He just wanted to have the same formula every night because that's what brought in the money. Yeah. And so at some point, Del, this was like in the late 70s, early 80s, mostly late 70s, I'd say. Del, of course, was kind of losing his mind because he was also doing a shit ton of drugs. And so his business partner got fed up with him and exiled him to Canada. And that's how Second City Television in Canada started. With Eugene Levy and John Candy and Martin Short and Dave Thomas and all these guys. And they learned from this Del guy, but at the same time, Del was trying to kick like his cocaine habit and like all these other things.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out so well.
There's an old Saturday Night Live episode where they go into the writer's room and it's an opium den. This is like first or second season, something like that. Yeah.
Well, famously on SNL, and to me, this is just a sign of his genius, is George Carlin did the opening monologue on the first episode, the first night. And he was completely high on weed, and he totally improv the whole thing. And you cannot tell. Like, he is cohesive, he is on point, and he is hilarious. And yeah, like, it's impressive. He's impressive.
Well, but, George Carlin was always impressive, I think.
That's
I mean, the man, like, there was a review of George Carlin in 1979, in December of 1979. That was talking about all the things of the 70s that's going away. We're heading into a new decade, into the 80s and stuff. And it was like, goodbye disco, goodbye this, goodbye that, goodbye George Carlin, right? The man reinvented himself after that. and it blows my mind how he was able to build his career, Like,
yeah, he's a very clever man, very clever.
I mean, he started out in a totally different era of comedy than his contemporaries, right? He started out in the slick 1950s, you're telling jokes, in a casino type comedy, and ended up like basically selling out entire stadiums.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not that different from Richard Pryor, actually. It's almost the same kind of story.
Again, they were contemporaries. And, Steve Martin was the first one to ever sell out a stadium, but he wasn't the last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, let's see. So, we're going to do this. Equals. And then introduces
You're
himself
right.
to a whole new generation in Bill and Ted. Yeah, well, not just Bill
You're
and
right.
Ted. He had other acting roles as well. Don't forget, he was in Cars as one of the hippie bus. He was the hippie bus. And then
but like he's just talking about like after his big foray into comedy in the 80s, his next step was Bill and Ted. Cars would have been like the 90s.
Oh yeah. Oh no, Cars was in the 2000s. But what he did in the 90s was he was Mr. Conductor for Thomas the Tank Engine.
That's right. That's right. I remember that.
Yeah, so
him and Ringo Starr at one point too.
He replaced Ringo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't remember who did it after him. But
me neither. I don't even think they have a host anymore because now when I watch it with the nephew, there's no host.
Well, I think it's a different iteration too.
Yeah. Yeah, and also everything's online, right? So we're not watching it on cable TV anymore. So there wouldn't be a host, I guess. Anyways, good old George. My first experience with George was my mom was always telling me this joke that he used to say about how he got censored and kicked out of the casino for saying the word shit when they were playing crap on the table.
Yeah, they were playing crap on the table.
More than that. They arrested him.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
And here's what's really interesting about that story, right? When they arrested him, he was on stage and the cops were off to the right of the stage. And usually he went off to the right, right? But when he saw the cops and he saw his wife on the left of the stage, he went to the left of the stage, took off his jacket and handed it to his wife, knowing he was going to get arrested because he had something like 3 grams of cocaine in his jacket at the time.
Oh.
He said that guy was so close to busting him that it almost scared him straight, but not quite.
Oh man, okay. The things you don't hear. I just had
I just finished reading his book Final Words. Or Last Words. So that's the only reason why I know that tidbit. But I cut you off, Kay. What were you going to say?
Yeah. So my stories from the radio and, mainstream media news. George Carlin got arrested, and I'm like 14. So I take that in. Yeah. My George Carlin story is I managed to get class full, occupation full when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Got it as a Christmas present. Mom and I sat down and listened to it, and
that's so cool that you got to listen to it with your mom.
I had to march back to LaBelle's and return it the next day.
No, my mom sat me down to listen to George Carlin on her records. She had Class Clown and she had AM FM, which was the first one of his transition into kind of hippie comedy and stuff like that. Prior to that, all of his albums were his partner albums. I don't remember the name of his partner.
It was
my experience with him was when I was in junior high. The Winnipeg used to play Sunday nights at 9:00 at night. They would have a comedy hour, and I was supposed to be in bed by 9. My parents would be always yelling at me to stop giggling. Because I'd be listening to George Carlin, and they would play the Bickersons with Don Amici. They'd play Groucho Marx and the Marx Brothers. Mm-hmm. They'd play Robert Klein. They'd play, they were just a bunch of comedy, and this was in the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember George Carlin doing the Divorce Game. What was that one was the silliest one, was the Divorce Game.
Yeah, that one was pretty good.
And Let's Make a Dope Deal. That's another one. Let's Make a Dope Deal.
Yeah.
For God, the hippy dippy weatherman. So good.
My favorite joke from the hippy dippy weatherman is tonight's forecast dark. It's going to continue through the evening and then clear up by morning. Yeah.
He's a good one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's it's good stuff. Let's see.
Yeah, so my big news was that today was the Cartoon Foundry Hamilton Comic Book Festival, and it was a relatively small affair. It was their second year in business, and it was at the Hamilton Central Public Library, and it was actually a really great event. I quite enjoyed it, and I was in charge of accruing people for a panel on queer comics. And I got 2 people to show up, and one of the other girls that lives there showed up as well. And so it was a panel of 3 creators and me, and I was the moderator. And so I did all the questioning, got the ball rolling, and they did a really fantastic job of expressing themselves. And yeah, I think it went pretty decent. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was good.
Hi, Skix. Skix is a friend of mine that I have had in webcomics for 20 years or so, perhaps more.
Nice.
Perhaps more. Maybe 22 years, 23 years. I don't know, somewhere around there. But yeah, I've known Skix for a long time. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Yeah, so your panel had 3 people and you said you had a good turnout. What about the audience?
Oh, the audience was huge. I was actually quite surprised because the panel before me had a bigger name involved, and there wasn't that many people there. There was maybe about 4 or 5 people listening. And then when we came in, it started out small. Like there was only a couple of people in the audience, but by halfway through it, it was packed. There was maybe about 25 to 30 people there.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a great turnout. One of the creators is Morgan C., who's a Toronto cartoonist, and she's does a lot of work on her transition and body positivity and just being a cat mom. And then the other one was Emmanuel Chateauneuf, and fantastically enough, Emmanuel grew up in Sault Ste. Marie, which is where I spent my teen years. It's a really small Northern Ontario town. I was there in the 90s, and she was there in the late or mid 2000s, I guess, 2009, 10 was her high school years, and she went to the same high school as me, which is crazy.
That's cool. So yeah, so you guys have a lot in common, I'm sure.
But she Sault Ste. Marie for her was a really different experience. She was asking me if I walked away from there with any drug habits, and I'm like, well, I didn't even start smoking pot till I moved to Vancouver, so no, I didn't. Somehow
are you
unscathed.
Hey, are you done with panel 2?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, yeah, because I'm about ready to work on panel 3. Hi, Literate Zombie, thank you. Literate Zombie's Ian. He's stopping in on the stream to say hi.
Hi,
and so okay, so panel 2 is he has figured out where they are. Now pull them over to his side, which means that I'm doing panel 3. Hi, Aston Martin. I'm doing panel 3, and this was panel 1 that we're looking at right here. So I am gonna turn that off, and I think that now that he knows where they are, he's gonna send the spies because they went through the portal, right? So where did they end up?
We don't think we established that yet, did we? No, we haven't.
Yeah,
no,
so
just have them kind of looking off and they're being viewed.
Well, that's the audience. There's 5 of them there now. At least 4. Yeah, 5 of them. Maybe one of the 5 has an idea of where they end up.
Armand is still back in the stomach realm. He just plunged them in.
Maybe they're under the water now. Maybe they're in Armand's world. It's under the sea in the ocean.
Okay. A video of him plunging them into the portal.
I have an idea. Okay. I am going to go water level Mario.
Oh, that sounds cool. Ian wants them to end up in Meow's headquarters.
Oh, is that what he said? They go through the portal and end up in Meow's headquarters. Ooh, yes. Yes, we're going to take that. We're going to take that option. Okay. The group ends up in Meow's headquarters. Okay. And then once they're in the headquarters, then what? Because that's what Kay is going to be drawing.
Well, I kind of like that Mario underwater idea. That was really cool.
I don't know. Kay, can you draw a Mario underwater level?
I can do the song.
Or do you want...
I could fake it.
We could switch panels, too. Where, they get thrown into, a pit or something to torture them to try and convince them to be his friend. I don't know.
Well, we already had them in the oubliette, remember?
Well, the oubliette's way back in the land of Philo. It's in the circle castle. The like
maybe this time we put them up in a high tower.
High tower. Okay. The group ends up in Meow's headquarters and then end up in a high tower. So that's what you're drawing, Kay.
They end up in his headquarters in a high tower.
In a high tower. So that's what you're drawing, is that Meow throws him in a high tower. And so, yeah. And then the group ends up in Meow's headquarters.
What would be better is if, like, they end up in Meow's headquarters, but Meow doesn't even know it. You know what I mean? Like, the top of the high tower is, like, his dusty old, rusty old attic. Like in Return to Oz, when she ends up in where the Jack Pumpkinhead is. Yeah. It's just a dusty old, rusty old attic that Meow has all his leftover stuff that he's completely forgotten about. He has no idea that they're there. I think that would be really funny.
Okay, so they're in his attic. They land in his attic?
Yeah, that's the top of the tall tower. And it's like, it's all dusty and there's sheets on stuff. Like, it's all his rejected things, or maybe all his rejected love offerings from like all the stuff he gave her and she doesn't want.
Yeah.
And meanwhile he's losing his mind because he's yelling at the spies, like, where the hell have they gone? What are you doing, you idiots? I thought you had them. They were supposed to be here, and they are actually there the whole time.
What's in that high tower, in that dusty attic? Thousands and thousands of cassette tapes, mixtapes that he had made.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I'm doing the stacks. I'm doing the stacks of tapes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So he's in the tower. The group ends up in Meow's headquarters, right? So I'm just having them land there, and maybe Kay, you can do a zoom out of the outside of the tower, so we know where they are for an establishing shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you could draw his lair, and then at the top of the tower have like a little circle balloon, and it shows our group stemming out from there, and then that's from the bottom of the tower, where it's like the basement of the lair, is where Meow is losing his mind. I don't know. The idea.
I draw these guys falling a lot. So yeah, they're. Do
you know who does that too? Mike Mignola. Mike Mignola draws Hellboy falling a lot.
Yeah, he does. Well, I mean, but it's Hellboy.
Through floors.
Like, he's always in like an alternate dimension or visiting hell or something.
Yeah. Smashing through floors and caskets.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So do you want to see all the comics that I got? Oh, and I didn't get to tell you about the other person. So the other person, Emmanuel, and she has kind of like an anime style. Her stuff is really, really good. I can't wait to show you her work. And then, and she's like a Filipino-Canadian artist. And then Eddie Mumford was there, and he's a writer, and he's part of this collective called Grotesque Comics. It's him and this artist, Jonathan Kasich, I think is how you say his name. And the art is really good, and the story is kind of like a Lovecraftian science fiction horror. He did one called The Fly Trap, and the other one's called The Colony.
Nice.
And so it was just talking about like their how they identify as queer and how that reflects in their stories, and whether like how comics can give you the opportunity to be very like secretive about how you feel, or you can broadcast it from like the highest point, how it also gives you the opportunity to find your people, if you, but, and then I also kind of talked a bit about how like, because like I grew up in the 90s, like that's when I was a teenager, and I kind of thought things would evolve and people would be more accepting, and they have in a certain way, like, like we would never be talking about trans people when I was in school, and no one would have ever come out in high school in the 90s. Like it was just, they would get, well, it's the same way they'd get beat up. So it has evolved in that way, but at the same time, like I feel like there's just so much more hatred now. Like there's just so much more anger, and when they're like, if they don't like black people, it's like they want to kill them. It's not just like, oh, I'm just not going to associate with them. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just, it gets kind of scary, and so I kind of feel like comics can be a safe space. Sorry,
but that anger's always been there. And comics being a safe space, that's always been true. I mean, for crying out loud, how have the X-Men been compared to the LGBTQ community since their inception? You know, about like, it's not your fault. You discover it around adolescence that you're a little different from everybody
else. I thought initially they were the allegory for racism. I mean,
initially, yes, but
is Jewish.
Yeah, initially they were the allegory for racism, but over time, the LGBTQ community has really found the X-Men and identified with them, right? Mm-hmm. And you've seen a lot of like X-Men come out. And I think that comes from people that read it.
In the Marvel universe, that the very first gay character was Canadian. I would just like to point out in the Marvel universe.
Like Iceman, who was one of the original X-Men, they now have made gay in the comics.
Yeah.
And you know, that's kind of like accepting, because he was one of the original X-Men, that's accepting the LGBTQ community as your readers. You know, by saying like, look, this is how embedded it is in who we are. And again, I think that things like comics and allegory like mutation, it allows people to have language that they may not otherwise have when they're struggling with feelings they don't otherwise understand. You know, it gives them something comparable through that analogy and through that storytelling. So I don't know. That's just me. I'm going to be drawing a bunch of tapes here for a while. Are you done, Kay? Are you still working on it?
I'm about 3/4 done.
Okay. Yeah. Then I got a lot of drawing on this panel.
I bet you do.
If you want to put me in the big box, I can start showing comics that I got.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I'll put you in the big box. Yay! It's show and tell. All thoughts are possible to be put on a page as well as images. That's why they're such a good outlet. They're also a cheap outlet compared to other forms, other mediums and stuff. You want to tell a story, you know, comics is the cost of paper, ink, pens, and time. You know, rather than like, you know, I gotta buy. Or I gotta pay for all this stuff. Ooh, that's nice.
Okay, so this is a guy that I've met online who's friends with a lot of my friends. His name is Jason Marcy, and he's doing this series called Growing Up in the 70s. And it's actually pretty cute because it's kind of written like he would write it as if he was like a 6 or 7 year old. And it's, you know, and they're just like short little vignettes about, you know, suburban Canadian life. But it was cool to meet him in real life because I've been talking to him forever online. So. And I'm excited that I've got one of his comics now. So he was there, so that was cool. And he was just visiting friends. He didn't have a table. When I walked up, there was a gentleman struggling with a box of comics. And so I offered to help him with the box. And as I went in, I didn't realize who I was helping. I was helping David Collier. And I don't know if you know him. He's a Canadian cartoonist who's been published by Boone & Quarterly. And he's done some really, really good comics. But it's so weird because the last time I saw David Collier was like 20 years ago. He came into the comic book store I was managing. He needed a place to stay. He was there with his pregnant wife, and he had heard that I knew people and that I might be able to help him because I was kind of like a big part of the comic book scene in Vancouver. And so he stayed with my friend Josue, and then I just realized, because while he was there, his son was with him, his 20-year-old son. So, like, that's who his wife was pregnant with. And his son draws comics, too. Now, his son does this really cool style that I'm calling, like, the Adventure Time influence. I don't know if you want to look at that there. But this actual comic was nominated for a Doug Wright Award, which is, we have 2 Canadian comic book awards up here. There's, like, the higher brow, Seth-oriented Doug Wright Awards, and then we also have the Joe Shuster Awards, which are like more superhero fan expo-y oriented. But yeah, this is David Collier's son, and
Joe Shuster was Canadian?
Yes, he was, my dear.
Interesting, I didn't know that.
We even have.
I read Men of Tomorrow. I didn't mention that.
In Canada, we have a series called the Heritage Minutes, where they would do like these little brief sort of sort of commercials about the history of various things, like Winnie the Pooh, for example, is also Canadian. Basketball is Canadian, and they did have one about Joe Shuster, who is Canadian. So anyways, one of the cool things that David Collier was doing there, besides his son selling his comic, was he was getting rid of a bunch of alternative comics, and I was like, this is insane. So I bought, like, he was selling them for $1, so I bought like a ton of stuff. Like, okay, let's see if I've got it all here. I've got to separate the ton of stuff from the new stuff. Oh, yeah. All right, here you go. All this stuff. Okay, so I think I read some of this stuff, but I was like, I can't let it go. I got number 1 in Duplex Planet. It's kind of just like a record. Did you know that?
Mm.
And Duplex Planet is a really interesting series, especially now that I'm working with old folks. So it's this guy, David Greenberg. I think that's his name. Yeah, David Greenberger. He was working in an old folks home, and he got all these cool alternative guys to illustrate their stories that the olds were telling him. So like Daniel Klaus did the cover. There's like Mary Fleener in here. There's Doug Allen, Rick Altergott, Roberta Gregory, Peter Cooper, Ellen Forney. Like, it's all, it's all Seattle guys, like Fantagraphics people. Yeah. But it's yeah, they're really funny, and I've got a bunch of them already. Here's Pat Moriarty in that one, and there's a Pete Bag cover there. But Duplex Planet is really good. I highly recommend Duplex Planet. Dave Cooper is in this one. Look at the painting on that. That's so good.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah. So I really recommend Duplex Planet.
Hi, Magic Marvin.
Cooper. This is the guy that does the Spy versus Spy comics, incidentally. This is Peter Cooper here who did this cover.
Yeah, it looks like
he's got Spy versus Spy that we're talking about. And so there's that. And then he had Real Stuff, which is another Seattle anthology. And it's about Dennis Eichhorn's stories. And again, a bunch of really cool alternative people inside, if you're into that kind of stuff. And then he had Cruel World. And I just friended Jim Blanchard on Facebook. So, like, I was like, oh my God, I need this. It's a Jim Blanchard comic. He's a crazy, meticulous, bizarre cartoonist. Oh, no, what?
Oh, yeah, we lost you for a second, Kay.
Okay. Looks like I'm frozen.
No, you're good.
You're there. Annabelle, it's raining.
Yeah, there, you're moving. Okay, we're like, move, Kay, move. So this is Jim Blanchard, and I'm trying to find, like, look at this. This is insane. Jim Blanchard is insane. He's kind of like, Drew Friedman, and does all that pointillism and stippling stuff. Like, Blanchard does his own version of it with cross-hatching, and he does, like, he's such an amazing cartoonist. Now, in this group here, SEI, I don't know what to call them, they're a Latvian cartoonist group, and I've actually got a couple of comics by them already. So when I saw this tiny one, I was like, oh, I gotta grab that. And it's like all weird comics from other countries. I love comics from other countries.
All right. I am gonna put me in the big window for a second.
Sure,
so I have them like falling from the sky, kind of. I think what we might do
into the attic.
Here, no, let's try this. Let's not go so dark. All right, we'll try that, and then go this far and delete. So in that way we can read it. All right, so this is what I'm doing is that they're falling into the attic, and then I'm going to do like swirly power stuff. And then Kay, you got them in the tower. Are you still working on this? Are you ready for the next panel?
I could be ready in about a minute.
No worries. I'm still drawing too. So you got time. So I'll put you up on the main screen for right now. Do you have any more comics to share?
Yes, I do. But Aston Martin said something pretty funny. He said,
that's Close Spy's grandma.
Yeah. That Peter Cooper, there she is. There we go. Spy versus Spy grandma. Yeah, I do actually have a couple more comics to share. I do.
Okay, what? I'll put you back in the big window then. Here you go.
All right, so this was Morgan C's table mate. It's called The Soft Sulk by Jason Bradshaw. He's another one of those guys that's doing that sort of Adventure Time style. Let me get a good photo picture here. But these are pretty cool, these like scenes. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it looks good.
Oh,
and he's also a Toronto cartoonist.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's one of his people. It looks like an apocalyptic kind of story.
As it should, right?
So that was cool. And then the girl that I was telling you about from Sault Ste. Marie Emmanuel Chateauneuf, her friends were doing sort of like adult-oriented comics, and they were really cheesy, and she couldn't get into them. So she decided to do her own version, and it is A-hot, B, really well drawn. She is such a talented artist. If you want to look.
Yeah. I like her gray work, you know, her like gray shading and stuff.
And like she's definitely got an anime sensibility, but at the same time she definitely has a style all her own, and that's what I really love. Like I get tired when all anime looks the same, or sorry, manga. She has a manga sensibility.
Aston Martin says it's really well rendered. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
She also has a series she's been doing. It's a her fan fiction version of Superman, and it's really charming, super cute. And yeah, I really like this stuff. I really like her. I guess it's kind of like a more sexy version of Maison Kuko, or Rumiko Takahashi. I like it. And it was called Princess Bunny. She also has a book called Queen Street, which is all about her story about living in Sault Ste. Marie as a Filipino, half French Canadian, half Filipino girl. Which I really need to get because it's located in Sault Ste. Marie, which is kind of weird. But you know, my friend, like one of my old schoolmates, went back a couple years ago and took a ton of pictures, and I didn't recognize any of it. And I was like, "This is insane!" Like that town was so small, I knew every inch of it. We walked all over it. Like I lived there for 3 years. It was my teen years. It was super formative, and I recognized none of these photos. It was so bizarre to me. Let's see here. This was another thing that David Collier had for sale. Antenna Head. I am 95% sure I have this, but it's this cartoonist from Vancouver called Ron Turner who barely puts anything out, and he's so good. So I had to get it again. If I have it, I'm going to give it to someone because like it needs to be given away. Like the art is so good.
Okay, so I think we're ready for the next batch panels. Kay, are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Let me duplicate my layer here, and then I can get that ready. So I'm gonna have you, or no. I will do this. So okay, the group ends up in Meow's headquarters. So I have them like, you know, this is the power of their transport and stuff coming down, and then you have them in the tower. So then what happens? And Meow doesn't know they're there. We've established, right? So do
we also need to make reference to the mixtapes. I think that's hilarious. People aren't just going to assume those are love letter mixtapes.
Okay. I have the next panel then.
Maybe they start going through them to try and figure out where they are, and they're like, what the hell? They're all
getting caught up in the mixtapes. I'm going to draw them getting caught up in the mixtapes. So what's the next panel after that?
Okay. Well, next panel should be something with Meow. Like, he's still trying to find them. Maybe it's the spies scrambling all over the headquarters like idiots. Like, Family Circus, where Billy is going ... all everywhere. Or I don't know. Just ideas.
How about Meow directs the spies to find the group? That's what you have to draw.
Sure. Right. And while you're drawing it, imagine stupid circus music. As the spies are like all running everywhere.
I am doing panel 5. You are doing panel 4. Or I'm sorry, you did panel 4 already. Wait. Yeah, you already did panel 4. Okay, I'm doing panel 5. You're doing panel 6. I swear I will figure this out.
And I'll rename them. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to put pressure on you. I'm just trying to keep it so I'm not scratching my head when I'm putting the pages together.
Oh yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why make it? Well, what is it? Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. They start going through Meow's mixtapes he keeps in his tower attic.
I don't want to call it a cemetery, but like it's where things go to die. You know?
Yeah.
His mixtape.
Sometimes they don't go to die.
Mixtape mausoleum. It's his mixtape mausoleum.
So what is he like a dissatisfied musician? Is that what's going on in Meow's life?
No, these are all just love songs that he's put together on a mixtape, and he's lovingly crafted the cover for it with collage work, and he's written all the songs out in beautiful calligraphy because he's so in love.
Okay. Now let's see if I remember how to draw a cassette tape.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, haven't you ever made a mixtape for anyone you love? I have many times. I still have some of them.
I am of the generation where we burned mixed CDs.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah. So I mean, I owned cassette tapes. I had a cassette player in my car when I was like in the early 2000s. You know, when everybody else had CD players and stuff.
Yeah, I got my first CD player. I got my first CD player the summer of 1996.
Let's see. I think I'm gonna draw Otis over here going, "Hey, check this one out." You know, hey, check out this tape, right? Should there be a player up there? There should be a player.
Yeah.
Yeah, there should be a player. So I'm going to draw the dog with headphones on. You know.
I just think there should be more hearts in this panel. There should be love hearts everywhere. Jesus. Yeah. The wallpaper of the room is covered in hearts.
I kind of did an industrial thing when I did the last panel.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, if I turn on the last panel,
I'm just trying to think of ways to make it like love, to make it obvious that it's all like they're all love tapes.
I don't know. I'll come up with something. I was thinking about just for Philo, like that kind of thing. I don't know. I'll think of something. But I'm gonna have the dog listening to the mixtapes.
Maybe the dog starts like crying and he has like a broken heart over his head because the songs are like so full of longing.
Let's see. Okay. Oh! It's an old boombox. It's an old boombox. It's up there. Oh yes.
I thought you were gonna draw. I didn't think you were gonna draw anything else.
Well, no, I was thinking of the like 3-set CD tape player thingy that was
the power.
You know what I'm talking about, where it had the two speakers, right? And then it had the CD and the cassette player like were together.
Yeah,
so that,
power. It's power.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was thinking that initially, but now I'm feeling boombox. And
I agree with boombox. I support boombox.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have the dog wagging his tail while he's listening to the music. Let's see.
So they're happy love songs then.
Well, I mean, I'm of the mindset that every single emotion that a human being can feel has been caught in a song, captured in a song somewhere, right? And sometimes when you're feeling so bad and you listen to somebody else's song that they wrote when they were feeling so bad, it makes you feel better. Because you're like, man, that person went through the same thing I went through.
You do realize you're talking about the dog, though. Man, that dog really went through the same thing this dog went through.
Well, the dog, for all we know, may be into music. You know, like we don't know much about the dog. The dog's been along for the ride, but he may have a very rich life outside of his relationship with Philo.
I think the dog is a big fan of Junie Tenuta, the stand-up comic with a very high-pitched voice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'll have him. Yeah, they're looking at individual tapes like this. I'm gonna put Kay up, so because she looks like she's actually in inks, which is a little bit more interesting than me doing like sketchy stuff.
Ken still has a little bit of a mind of its own.
Yeah, your spy looks like a pig.
Yeah, my spy looks like a pig.
We did have pigs. Maybe the spies are actually pigs. In disguise.
Well, I think it's fair to assume that the spies are birds.
They're cats.
Are the spies cats?
Yep. They are cats.
Has this been determined?
I mean, we could have a pig. That's kind of how it turned out.
I never really thought of them as animals, but if I did, I would think they were like crows.
Yeah, that's what I said. I thought they were birds. Yeah, I'm gonna have the dog listening to the music here.
But Meow sure looks angry.
Yep.
Well, I imagine he would be because, you know, he wants to get back with Philo. Well, I don't know back. I don't know if
he was with her.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why there's this room full of empty, or it's a room full of love tapes, rejected mixed love tapes. I think it's all futile, and he's trying his best, and it's not working, which is why he's even more angry.
So then, okay, how are getting these guys going to get him Philo?
Well, we already know he wants Otis.
Yeah. Let's see. Part of it, I think, is music. Music is a form of voice. So, like, the feelings and voice are the same thing. Yeah, but you can have musical pieces without voice at all that make you feel something. You
like
know?
The movie The Piano.
The Moonlight Sonata, you know, by Beethoven is a really good piece of music, and, you know, again, no lyrics. Oh, you don't mean speech. What do you mean?
Well, you create music with voice, so that makes, like, the feeling you get from music and voice are the same thing as what I ascertained from it.
Well, I kind of see that, you know, past generations and stuff like that had music, but they didn't have musical notation, right? Until it was invented around, 1500s or something like that. But there's always been, like, poetry that's been sung. And so you have stuff like rap now that people don't realize is like an extension of poetry, right? Because it's to a rhythm and it comes out, and, like, you get into the rhythm when you hear it. And that's how people used to enjoy poetry for thousands of years, is there used to be someone who memorized it and then would repeat it to others.
The Bob.
Yeah, so they're going through the mixtapes. Yeah, I'm gonna put on K. There we are. Yeah, they're going through the mixtapes. So, like, are they gonna get like blackmail material on Meow by going through and knowing how he really feels?
What's the end game with that? Are they gonna blackmail him into leaving them alone? You know what I mean? Like, what is your end game with the blackmail?
pawns in somebody else's scheme. You know, so if they find like how
now
really
they
feels,
suddenly care. The whole shebang is them being pawns in our schemes.
Well, I suppose that's true. Yeah. And remember, all this started with pasta.
Pasta.
All this started with Philo cooking pasta at home, and then Bluto came home, and then he turned into a puma. Let's see. Voice, like a form of expression, the choice of expression, whether we expression in words, pictures, musical tones, hand movements, environment. I heard this recently, a leader to someone who surrounded themselves with people who believed in them, which was a weird thought to me, but it's that kind of expression expressing people do. So when you're feeling a feeling, it can't either take 1,000 words or a couple notes to express it. In deep thought mode, forgive the bluntness. That's okay. No, I kind of see what you're saying. I think that expression doesn't necessarily need to have like a lot of words or whatever to say a lot, right? Again, it depends on what you're trying to say and how you're trying to say it. And some of the most powerful poems, again, going back to like poetry and stuff, are very short, and that's what makes them memorable. And then there's other stuff like The Raven by Poe that like ruined his life when he wrote it. Like everyone couldn't get over The Raven. People would read it to each other, you know, all the time, and like they wanted him to read it everywhere. And you know, he felt like he couldn't get out from under it. And then he ended up dying in a gutter in Baltimore with laudanum in his system. And he had been like carted around to 3 different voting areas to like vote for some guy.
Oh, Poe, yeah. I figure he fell into the hands of the Irish.
Yeah. Yeah, and he died in a gutter in Baltimore. And if you go to Baltimore, they have the gutter like you know, commemorated.
In this ditch.
Yeah.
No, on the opposite side, someone not as famous died, but we didn't bother to commemorate that ditch.
Yeah, but it's interesting because the commemoration, you know, it's this plaque that basically says that, you know, that Edgar Allan Poe died here, you know, and this was where his body was discovered and stuff. And you see, it's a gutter. It's still a gutter. It's still a gutter. You know, it's just like it's been modernized and stuff, but yeah, it's just kind of interesting. I don't know. I always liked Poe. I think he's cool, but I got off topic. The point I was trying to make is that you don't need a lot of words to express a big feeling. You know, Bukowski is one of my favorite poets, and there's a poem that he did. I think it's called Cans and Rags or something in Rags. And it's this description of this guy with this old horse and a cart, and he's collecting like cans, rags, like trash and stuff, and he's going to take it to the dump and then, you know, see if he can like sell it to the dump, right? And he's beaten the shit out of this horse in the poem. And the horse is like frothing at the mouth because it's so tired, but it keeps going because it's being whipped while it's going and stuff. And Bukowski ends it with basically saying that this is the cruelest man he ever knew, right? And it's just interesting because it's this description of how this guy acted, and then it's like, this is the cruelest man. So you think at first when you're reading this that this is just a kind of a normal description, but you know, and you're like, oh man, that's really terrible. But it's like he remembered that and the imagery of that from the Depression and wrote a poem about it years later, about the cruelest man he ever knew. That's just, it's neat. Yeah. I like poetry. I like expression. I like music.
I'm going to go get something to drink. I'll be right back.
Don't leave us.
Just be 2 minutes. I'm in the fridge.
All right. That gives me an excuse to go and check in with Kay. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Meow directs his spies to find the group. I love the cat minions. They're like my new favorite people. I didn't know that about Raven. Wow, it was that big a hit. It's like poetry is sort of it's like poetry is sort of a rhyme. Yeah, it is. I consider like modern rap like an extension of the work that went into poetry in like the 17 and 1800s, right? Like because the written word was how you communicated with other people. We didn't have television, we didn't have radio, we didn't have anything like that. People communicated with letters, right? So you would have to write descriptors of what was going on, and if you had poetry, that was like the television episodes of the day. And yeah, like people would just sit around in circles and like read them with each other. And like modern rap takes that time and that effort with language. And I think it's really cool. Okay, so they start going through Meow's mixtapes. He keeps in his tower attic. So that's them going through the mixtapes. I still have a little bit left to do on my panel. How are you doing, Kay?
I'm fine. I can say I'm finished.
Do you want to? Are you still working on it? Because I got like maybe 2 more minutes on my panel.
Oh, okay. I can keep drawing on this for a couple minutes more.
Okay, yeah. You can add.
I art.
You can add more minions.
Yes, I can always add more minions.
Yeah, I like the cat minions. I'm a fan of that.
Speaking of minions, maybe we should revisit the Kaiju Council.
Well, we don't know what's going on with the Kaiju Council. Why did they have a second tracker?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's time to revisit that. Now that we know what Mao's plans are and what he's gonna start doing, which is send everyone after a group.
Okay. So
okay. We don't have to. I mean, it's just an idea. We can continue on where we're going.
Let's see. They start going through Meow's mixtapes. He keeps in the tower attic. And then we go to Kay's panel, which is Meow directs his spies to find the group. Right? So I think
the next panel would be the spies.
I think the next panel should be the spies looking around for the group and the group seeing the spies look for them. And so let me do this. Duplicate. All right. So this is going to be panel 7 for me, and then panel 8 for you, Kay, when you're ready.
Ooh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and you got some time because I'm drawing panel 8 right now. So you don't have to work on yours right away.
I have a couple more comics to show if you want.
Comics. Okay. Yes. I put you in the main screen.
Just a couple more. So yeah, I was leaving off with the antenna head, which is Ron Turner. Let's get some art here for y'all.
I guess Meow would have a compound, right?
Well, yeah, it's like maybe a ranch. I don't know, but it's a lair.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be a hideout. He has like a control room, so that's definitely more of a lair. Ooh, faces. Yes, we have faces.
And that's a very famous restaurant in Vancouver that no longer exists on the corner of Granville and Broadway. The Aristocrat. Shark Tail vibe. Well, it's their faces, right? Like, look at, they got the... That's Ron Turner. And then, let's see here. These are original art babes that she sent to him that even have, like, color print. And I've got, like, early Art Babe comics, but I don't have, like, the Art Babe zines, which is pretty awesome. She doesn't do much comics anymore, Jessica Abel. She's more of an educator of comics. Mm-hmm. But way back in the grunge era, she was quite prolific. I have one of her posters on my wall, actually. But yeah, look, this is her style. She's married to Matt Madden, who's another alternative cartoonist. But this is the stuff that she was doing like in 1992, and she was living in Seattle at the time, so it's my teen and 20s. It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. It's right up your alley.
Yeah.
Finally, set up with the laptop. Yay! Set up with the laptop. Good for you, Magic Marmot.
And then the last thing I got was this woman that was there called Charlene Chua, and she had this kid's book called Hug, and it's awesome. It's really good art, and it's really cute. It's all about how this young girl is giving hugs to everybody who asks if she can give them a hug. But it gets kind of excessive, like skunks want hugs. And in one panel, there was like a bear. Oh yeah, here's a dragon. The dragon wants a hug. And she's like, ah. And then she's like, I don't feel well. And then somebody said, well, do you want a hug? And she's like, yes.
Aw, that's cute.
And I thought that was appropriate.
Let's see. I'm going to draw the spies just kind of like going around the complex.
The alien giving a bunch of ducks hugs. I think that's very cute. Yeah, she's a good artist, and it's a really beautiful book. And then she, somebody wrote these characters, and she illustrated them. And she just gave me these books for free. These are the last bit here. Well, first of all, this is one of her characters. She did this gorgeous sticker. It's like a mermaid cat.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Ooh. I guess you could call that a catfish.
Catfish. Yeah, the duck looks scared. That's what's so cute about it. But then, so these two characters, she did Cat and Fen. They're somebody else's creations, but she did these little art books with them. And she's, just again another talented artist. These people come out of the woodwork. They don't necessarily hustle as well, but they're so good.
Yeah, I would count myself as one of those that doesn't really know how to hustle. Don't call Max and Neve.
Yeah,
that one duck looks so scared, says Magic Marmot. Okay, I am going here, and then Kay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are you waiting for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm having the group looking out like a balcony at the spies, kind of going around the complex. So what happens after that? That's the question. Like, are we gonna have like the spies can't find them? Wait. Maybe they beat up some spies and put on their clothes, and now they're being able to go around and they're in disguise.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that. So they knock out. So your caption is they knock out some spies and steal their clothes. Yeah. So we're gonna have the spies around. Jump off the balcony onto the spies, says Magic Marmot.
Okay.
Oh, the other thing that happened at that con is, and you might find this interesting. You ever see that movie Rock and Rule?
Oh, I've seen parts of it.
It's a Canadian cartoon movie that came out in the 80s, and it's by Nelvana, which also did a whole other bunch of like the Raccoon series, and a really good one I used to watch as a kid called The Devil and Daniel Mouse. But Rock and Rule is a big deal because like Iggy Pop does a voice in it, and so does Debbie Harry, and I can't remember who the other. I want to say Lou Reed, but I could be wrong. It might be David Bowie, one or the other. But it's like it's this really cool cartoon, and it's sort of like making a deal with the devil to become a rock and roll star. But it's all they're like mice, and it's a beautiful animation. Came out in the early 80s, and so they screened it and they talked to the director and the storyboard artist and the writer. It was pretty cool.
Hi, baby girl. Hi, baby girl.
It didn't really get a lot of coverage at the time in America.
No, it wouldn't.
Baby girl, I'm
previews
right now.
on Night Flight.
I know. I'm sorry, baby.
But it
What's Night Flight?
Night Flight was like an overnight program, late night program. It was kind of like cable, almost like Adult Swim for regular channels in America. I think it was almost like a syndicated program that would run after midnight. And it usually had the coolest music videos. And they did a pretty good job. Night Flight. I'm sure you can catch some little snippets of it on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm going to look that up.
But
yeah, that's before my time.
It was
Magic Marmot remembers it.
Aston Martin says, sounds like the plot to Guitar Hero 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, about going and, getting a deal.
Selling your soul to the devil. Yeah. Well, I didn't realize this, but I watched a documentary recently about Robert Johnson, who's considered like the godfather of blues. And they're the ones he's the one that did The Devil Went Down to Georgia. That story is kind of about him. Because apparently he went away for a year and he didn't know nothing about playing the blues. And he came back a year later and suddenly he was doing things that they had never seen before. Yeah. And they were convinced that he'd sold his soul to the devil to get that good. And he passed away at 27 quite suddenly. And so then they believed, of course, that's when the devil came a knocking for his soul. But what I didn't realize is, of course, there's a whole pantheon of people that have died at 27. I know that. Yeah. There's Janis Joplin, there's Jim Morrison, there's Kurt Cobain. But I didn't know
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. Also, I'm not. I didn't say there wasn't anyone else.
I just know a lot of them. But Jimi Hendrix, Amy Winehouse, she died at 27. Jim Morrison.
I said Jim Morrison.
Yeah, you mentioned him. You mentioned Kurt Cobain.
Yeah. Janis Joplin.
There's just so many of them.
But anyways, I didn't realize that people believe the reason that they all died at 27 is because they all sold their soul to the devil. that's an actual conspiracy. I had no idea.
That's funny. Hitman has you do a mission on Rockstar's 27th birthday. That's cool. Let's see. Have the spies up here as they're like walking around with their lanky hands. Kind of trying to draw them like strutting, like keep on trucking kind of struts. There we go. I'm going to check in on Kay. Kay's doing a lot more interesting panel than I'm doing. She's doing a tackle.
Yeah, look at their faces. That's awesome. Stop. It almost looks like, have you seen the Just for Laughs character? Another Canadian thing?
No, I think that's, I don't think I have.
He's like a little green demon with like pointy ears like that, and his ears are red, and he's always laughing with teeth like that. But sadly, Just for Laughs is a very famous festival around the world. It went bankrupt this year.
Oh no!
Yeah, like it was when I lived in Montreal. I would save my pennies because every summer is like the awesomest bangingest time in Montreal. It starts out with the jazz festival, and because they're Montreal, they get some of the biggest names. Like Prince put on a free concert one year and played till 3 a.m. They would get amazing hip hop artists at the jazz festival and Ninja Tune guys that I love. So a quarter of my money went to the jazz festival. Then they had the Just for Laughs festival, so I would go and see a bunch of comedians that I loved. And again, half my money went to the Just for Laughs festival. And then after that was Fantasia Fest, which is like their film festival. And it's like all like Asian movies, horror movies, comic book, cartoon oriented movies, just like all underground culty nerd movies. And I've seen so many amazing things through Fantasia. And so that's where the majority of my money would go in the summer. And Montreal in the summer is like nowhere else. It's a lot of fun. But sadly, Just for Laughs went bankrupt this year.
The same thing happened to Comic Relief that they used to do in the 80s because the guy that was behind this, I'm not talking about Billy Crystal or Robin Williams or Whoopi Goldberg.
They're the figurehead.
They did their jobs, you know, of making people laugh and the comedy and bringing people in and stuff like that. No, the dude that was running the foundation embezzled like 90% of the money, and he ended up going to jail for it, and that's what killed Comic Relief.
Yeah, good though. I'm glad he went to jail. That doesn't always happen with people that embezzle like that.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's check in with me, because I got them kind of like looking over the top here.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I just gotta.
That's a good angle.
This guy's gonna be the black spy.
What's the third spy gonna be? The purple spy?
You know what?
He's gonna be the prince spy.
In my research of looking up spy versus spy, let me see if I can actually bring this up. There is a third spy.
Yeah, female.
Yeah, there is a third spy. Here, let me see if I can get her over.
She's a female and she messes with all.
Yeah. So that's her. That's the third spy. That's spy versus spy versus spy. See? I can't like zoom it in anymore.
Wow.
Because, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
crazy.
That's the spy versus spy versus spy.
I'll Google her.
Yes.
Third spy. Mad Mega.
I think you're gonna have to say spy versus spy to know.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do like gray, I think, for the third spy. You know, implying that there's more spies than just what we see. Right? Spy versus Aston Martin said spy versus to the third spy. So it's VS
Spy cubed.
Yes. I thought it was funny. It made me laugh. Let's see. Okay. I realized that like I don't have like he was grabbing onto something. Yeah, so I'll do this. I'll have him like grab onto
There
it.
she is.
No, I think he's just gonna be like looking over like that. Okay. All right. Yeah, and let's look at the tackle. They knock out some spies and steal their clothes.
Okay, so you know what would be cool too that would work, because the comic strip I'm looking at is both spies are in love with her and she just like has her way with them and does whatever she wants. So if there's a third spy looking, at some point maybe she just distracts them and then goes with our crew.
It could be. I'm on panel 9. We got 15 minutes to go. I think with Kay drawing...
Like, we don't have any girls in our crew.
That's true. We don't have any girls.
And I think the female spy would be
and
cool.
The Willendorfs were female characters.
But they weren't in our crew.
No.
I'm just saying it would be probably fresh meat, fresh blood to add the female spy to our group.
That's like, I don't know. It's getting kind of complicated. We already have 4 people.
That's fair.
Yeah. So
we don't need more complications. It's already complicated enough.
I am going to set up panel 9 then. And so let me turn off panel 7 and then we will go back. And then I'll put up Kay drawing the tackle while I get this one organized. But what I'm thinking is now that our crew is in spy gear, now they can move around the castle undisturbed. Right? Is going to be my caption. Now they can move around the compound. Compound undisturbed. Is disturbed with it's with an I, right? Not an E? Is it disturbed or disturbed?
This.
Okay. Yes, that looks wrong. So it is an I. My dyslexia, you know. Like I've been uploading all these old comics and stuff online to my website and finding typos throughout them and stuff where I've just spelled words wrong. You know, I mean, like my portfolio in college said Portfolio.
Ooh.
Yeah, my dyslexia is pretty bad sometimes. But, you know, what are you going to do? So, yeah, I'm going to draw them in spy gear. That's what I'm going to do. And I think this is going to be the last panel. I will put a K because she's doing the tackle.
And they are getting tackled. Whew. I don't know that.
Let's see. Yeah. Gotta make sure that I'm like honoring the spies, but at the same time, like drawing Philo.
That's quite the melee. How do you say that word? Melee.
Melee.
No, a milieu is a mix. Melee is like a fight.
Menage means mixture. So it could be a menage, not a menage a trois. Everyone thinks that, you know, menage instantly means something sexual, but it literally just is the French word for mixture. And so menage a trois means a mixture of three, right? So if it's a mixture of spy versus spy and Philo, then it's a menage of the two. A menage a deux.
I didn't draw any spy versus spies. I just concentrated on the kitties, kitty spies.
Okay. That's okay.
By a puma, by a puma Bluto. Is he still a puma?
I've been drawing him as a puma. Yeah.
Okay.
So. And I'm also going to have them still have some of the tapes in their hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I can change that to a cassette tape, or maybe a club with a cassette tape as a hammer.
Oh, it could be. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't control it well enough.
I'm sorry you're having technical difficulties.
It's a little, yeah, it's not as responsive as it should be. I know I've got the right drivers in. It might be like the Wi-Fi strength. That might be, at least, come on, over here. Hello. I know one of the factors was I had my phone sitting too close.
Oh, why? Was it heating up on you?
No, it wasn't heating up, but phones can often really screw up other things that are going on. It's got a powerful magnetic field to it. No, I don't want that. Goodbye. Thank goodness for Control Z.
There we go. Yeah, they're all going to be like in spy outfits.
No. Stop that.
There we go. Did we lose Kay? Or I meant, did we lose Robin?
No, I'm still here.
So?
I'm still here. Watching you guys draw.
Yeah, I need to come up to like Winnipeg sometime.
Why?
Because it sounds cool and there's comic stuff there. I don't know. It just seems like it would be a cool place to hang out. Yeah.
I was born there. I consider it the armpit of Canada.
Well, you prefer Toronto, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer Vancouver. I prefer Montreal. I prefer any other Canadian city. Winnipeg is like a city. It's a big city and it has a good cultural scene. But when I was living there, it was like living in a small town. Yeah, there's a lot of racism that goes on there.
Yeah, when I lived in Regina kind of hit me as a little armpitish. Like,
yeah, Winnipeg's very similar to Regina.
Yeah,
only more flat. Way more flat.
Really? Because Regina's pretty flat.
Yeah, but Regina's a lot closer to the Rockies than Winnipeg is.
Yeah.
Winnipeg's in the prairies.
Yeah, one of the things I remember about Regina when I was living there is that during rush hour, every single day, the trains would go through the city and stop all the traffic because the city of Regina had a disagreement with the rail stations. And so that's when the rail companies scheduled all their stops in the city of Regina was during rush hour traffic as like an FU to the city.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that. Let's see. Winnipeg is like North Dakota, says Magic Marmot.
We used to drive through the Dakotas all the time when I lived in Winnipeg because my grandparents lived in southern Ontario. So we go through the Dakotas and then we'd drive up through Sarnia, past Detroit, and then go up to London, Ontario. And what I remember from the Dakotas is that everyone had like ratty houses, bombed out cars, like it looked like almost third world country living, but they all had satellite dishes. Every single house had a satellite dish.
Yep, that sounds about right.
This is like the late 80s though, so it might be different now.
Not by much. No, the coolest thing that's in South Dakota. Like, everybody talks about Mount Rushmore and stuff like that, but like to me it breaks my heart that they destroyed the grandfather mountain of the Dakota Indians. But that's just me. No, the coolest thing in South Dakota is literally right down the street from Mount Rushmore is the Crystal Caverns. And they were considered sacred by the Dakota Indians, and there's just sheets and sheets and sheets of quartz. And you can see through the quartz, and they have lights so that you can walk along, but you can see like the path through the quartz, of like where you're going to go, because the light is thin enough that the light can travel through the quartz, right, when you're underground. And so it looks like an alien location. Let me see. I'm going to find a picture of the Crystal Caverns and show you guys what it looks like, because it's amazing. Dakota. Yeah, so like if you guys see right here, this is the Crystal Caverns. Right? Let's see. Okay, these are the stalactites. I'm looking for like there's like this one picture. Oh, yeah, here. This is what it looks like on the inside. So it's like once you start getting deep into it, there's like, huge deposits of crystal. But you have to like walk for like an hour, and it's like 68 degrees in the cave. Most caves are around 65 to 68 degrees because that's just like the temperature of the surface of the earth. You go underground like 20 feet and it's going to be that temperature. It's weird. Yeah, Winnipeg is like North Dakota space butthole. Okay, so we are at time at 8:30, and I think that what I'm going to do is draw in some shading for them. Lower than 65. Here, let's do this. All right, let me add in some shading real quick on him so that we know that he's like in the black outfit, but we can still see what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And so, I think we ended up in a good place. Now, here's my question. how does Meow know that they're in his castle or his
Well, he
lair?
doesn't yet.
But he said to look for them, and they're looking for him in the lair, right? So how does he say? How does he know to look for him? How did the spies know to look in the lair?
He's not saying look for them in the lair. I think he's saying look for them in general.
And the spies look in the lair because they know?
No, because they took it literally. They're idiots.
Okay, that works for me. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna call this panel done. We went to some good places tonight, and this is Kay's last panel. I got to see the tackle.
Yay!
Oh, that's awesome with the cassette tapes.
Oh, shadowing on Monday and shading and finesse them a little bit and then send them to you on Monday. How about that?
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. Like I said, you can send me the PSD file too, if that's easier for you, so you don't have to worry about breaking them down.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. So, yeah, I am going to turn off art, and I am going to turn off our guest, which is Miss Kay. So let me bring Kay up. Bye, Miss Kay. Thank you very much for being one of my guest artists today and being awesome and taking on half the workload for me. And I love having you, and I'll see you next time I have you on. And then there's me.
All our guests, like all the people in talking.
Yeah.
We had Stephen Notley, we had Aston Alexander Barton, we had Magic Marmot, we had a lot of people.
Yeah, we had a lot of people tonight. And thank you, Robin, for being my better half and showing us all the awesome comics today. Yeah, I know, that's awesome stuff. It's really exciting. I love it. And thank you everyone in chat and stuff to hang out. What I am going to do is I'm going to turn off the screen here, and then I am going to actually set up a raid on Twitch. So anybody who wants to hang out after the raid, feel free. And I will see you guys in the future. Have a great